Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we are opening up a file that is, well, it's honestly a bit of a mind bender.
It really is. When you read through it, you realize this isn't just a diary. It's a case study in identity.
A masterclass in irony is what it is. It's about resilience, sure, but it's also about the sheer absurdity of how life can circle back on itself.
It's messy, it's complicated, and it spans decades. We're talking late 80s all the way to, well, to now 2026.
Exactly. And before we really get into it, we need to set some ground rules. This is incredibly personal source material. We're going to be talking about the life of a transgender man, his whole journey. But, and this is really key for today, we are not going to use his chosen name.
Right. And that's actually part of the spirit of this deep dive. We want to look at the universal themes here, the struggle for authenticity, the bureaucratic nightmares.
Yeah, we're focusing on the story, not the name tag. And the hook for the story, I mean, you couldn't write this if you tried. It starts before our subject is even born, late 80s, early 90s.
The ultrasound room.
The ultrasound room. Grainy, black and white, The technician looks at the screen, turns to the mother, and says with total confidence, "It's a boy."
Which just sets this massive psychological stage.
Huge. The parents are ready. They pick out a name. The source says it was Cody. They're probably playing the Blue Nursery, the whole thing. And that delivery room.
Surprise.
Surprise. The baby is born biologically female.
And that is the central irony we're going to be unpacking. Because as we track this person's life, let's just call him our protagonist, we see that, despite what the birth certificate said, that ultrasound tech might have been accidentally prophetic.
That's the mission. We're tracking the evolution from that mistaken boy to the man he is today. And it is not a straight line. It involves mean girls, body spray,
Getting fired.
and completely redefining what the word family even means. And it all starts with what he calls a boy childhood.
Yeah, let's start there.
Because for a long time, there was no conflict. He wasn't thinking about gender theory. He was just a kid. Grew up in a neighborhood just swarming with boys.
And that's such a crucial detail. In early childhood, your tribe defines you. He says it so clearly. I always thought I was one of the boys. Not that he wanted to be, that he was.
He's just running around scraping his knees, doing everything the other kids are doing. In his head, he's in the same category.
Until the adults step in. And there's this one specific memory in the memoir that just marks the end of all that. He calls it the shirt incident.
Oh, this part is such a small moment, but it just lands like a hammer,
So you have to picture it. Hot summer day.
Yeah.
He's a little kid running around shirtless, just like every other boy on the block.
Right.
And then his mother pulls him aside.
And she has to have the talk, not that talk, but the one about the rules. She explains, no, you have to wear a shirt. You are a girl. They are boys. The rules are different.
And that has to be such a jarring moment for a kid. Your body is just replaying, and then suddenly this external rule gets slapped onto it. It's the first time society's gender norms actually punctured his own self-perception.
It's like finding out you've been playing a different game this whole time, but nobody told you the rules until you accidentally broke one.
Exactly. And what's really interesting is how he responded to that pressure when he hit middle school. He didn't rebel.
Not at first. He went the complete opposite direction. He went like full method actor.
That's elastic phase.
Yes. He actually references the movie Mean Girls and says he tried to be a plastic. He tried to be the ultimate girly girl.
Which is a classic overcorrection. Psychologically, it's called masking. If you feel like you don't fit the mold, sometimes you don't try to break it, you try to smash yourself into it harder.
A total performance. He was wearing the costume of what he thought he was supposed to be. But you can only keep that up for so long, right?
And for him, the mask didn't just slip. It got ripped off in 8th grade.
Yeah, middle school, of course. It's a crucible for everyone. But this moment was a real catalyst.
Okay, so set the scene for us.
All right, 8th grade, awkward city. A new student transfers to his school. A girl. Our protagonist develops a huge world-ending crush on her.
And he actually works up the nerve to tell her, which in middle school, that's courage.
So much courage.
Yeah.
He confesses his feelings, and her response was just simple, direct, and absolutely devastating. She just said, "I don't like girls."
Wow. Now, for most people, that's just rejection. It hurts, you go home, you're sad. But for him, this was so much more than that. It was like a mirror.
Right. She looked at him and saw a girl. But in his head, he was a boy who liked a girl.
And that clash, that cognitive dissonance between who I feel I am and what the world sees, that was it. He says that was the moment he stopped the plastic act. He realized the performance just wasn't working.
And the sensory details he gives for what happened next are just So perfect. If you were alive in the mid-2000s, you can smell this description.
Oh, I know where this is going.
He trades in all the girly clothes for guy pants, starts wearing baggy stuff, and then the pièce de résistance.
Let me guess. Axe body spray.
Axe Phoenix, to be exact.
The scent of a generation. Seriously.
You could chew the air in a school hallway back then, but that choice, it's so specific.
It is. It's what I call olfactory flag planting. He was signaling to everyone within smelling distance, which, with Axe, is a pretty wide radius.
A 3-mile radius, yeah.
Where he stood. If I smell like a teenage boy, maybe you'll start treating me like one.
But that comes with a social cost, right? You can't be a plastic and also smell like Axe Phoenix.
You lose your clique.
So he's out of the popular crowd. But he finds a new tribe. He starts hanging out with the stoners and the goths.
Which feels like a classic outsider story, but his reason for it is really profound. It wasn't about the music or the subculture, really. It was about how they judged people.
Yeah, he says they didn't care how he dressed. They cared how he acted.
That group values authenticity, or at least nonconformity. In that space, his gender presentation was less important than his actual behavior. It gave him room to breathe.
And speaking of room to breathe, we have to talk about the relationship that starts around this time.
The anchor.
Yes. This is not a story of a lonely journey. He meets his fiancée.
And they've been together now for, what does the source say, 21 years?
A lifetime. They basically grew up together.
They did. And he explicitly says she was instrumental in helping him understand himself. Having that one person who sees you for who you are when the rest of the world doesn't, that's everything. She validated his manhood long before any doctor did.
So he's got the anchor, he's got the baggy clothes, he's got the axe. But the official medical side of things, that didn't happen for a while. We're jumping forward to 2015.
Right, there's a big gap. He officially comes out as trans FTM female to male in 2015.
And then he starts testosterone, or T, in 2016.
And I want to stop on that for a second.
Yeah.
The impact of that medical step. He mentions he'd battled severe depression since he was a little kid.
Right.
But once he started T, that depression shifted from severe to manageable.
That's such a key distinction. It wasn't a magic wand. It didn't just vanish, but it became manageable. The volume was turned down.
The biochemistry was finally starting to match the neurology.
Yeah.
He says he finally started feeling like himself. That congruence is the whole goal.
Now, we said we aren't using his name, but the source actually mentions that picking one was a real struggle. It took 5 years.
Well, names are powerful. When you choose your own as an adult, you're trying to capture your whole identity in a single sound. I can see why it would take 5 years to find one that fits.
So things are looking up. He's on T. He's feeling better. But the medical journey, it's never a straight line. And this is where the source gets really honest about the limitations.
Yeah, and this is important. There's this misconception that transition is a simple checklist. But for him, bottom surgery wasn't an option because of other medical issues.
That's got to be a tough pill to swallow, to know there's a physical limit.
It took a lot of psychological work.
Yeah.
He had to accept that he couldn't get fully there physically, but he could get close. Finding peace in the close enough is. That's a very mature, very difficult thing to do.
But top surgery, that was on the table. He had the consultation. He was ready. And then the world stopped.
COVID-19, the great disruptor.
The timing was just brutal. He had the consult right before the pandemic. And during that time, he and his fiancée moved from Kentucky to Maryland.
Which seems like just a change of address, but in the American medical system, crossing state lines, it's a nightmare. It resets the clock.
How so?
You leave your doctors, your specialists, your place on the waiting lists, your insurance network changes. He says he had to go back to square one for the top surgery process.
And the source says that now, in 2026, he still hasn't had it. That's a 6-year delay and counting.
It just highlights how fragile healthcare access is.
Right.
One logistical domino falls and you're waiting half a decade.
So that's the medical side. But then there's the professional struggle. While all this is going on, he's also trying to hold down a job. And this part of the story, this part made my blood boil.
It's a very stark reminder of employment law in the U.S.
He talks about a specific manager at a previous job. He asked the manager to use male pronouns.
A simple request?
And the manager just refused, flat out. And then a short time later, our subject was fired.
Just like that. And he mentions living in an at-will state, which means an employer can fire you for almost any reason, as long as it isn't proven to be illegal discrimination.
So they don't write fired for being trans on the pink slip. They just make something else up?
Exactly. He says he knows he was blacklisted. The timing is just too perfect. You ask for your basic rights, you get terminated. It's a depressingly common story.
And that experience clearly changed how he navigates the world now. In his current job, he has a new policy. I guess pragmatic is the word.
It's a survival strategy.
Mm.
He decided it was just easier to let coworkers use whatever pronouns they want. He doesn't correct them anymore.
Just think about that. After everything, the Axe Phoenix, the hormones, the legal name change, he goes to work and lets people call him she just to keep his job safe.
He's compromising himself for his survival. He saves the correct pronouns for friends and family, the people who earn the right to know the real him. At work, he's basically in defense mode.
It's heartbreaking, but it's also incredibly practical in a weary sort of way.
It is. It really raises a question about what authenticity costs. And for him, the cost of that fight was his livelihood. So he stopped paying.
Let's pivot to the people who do use the right pronouns. We talked about his fiancée, but what about his biological family?
Well, the source is pretty blunt here. He says he's considered himself an orphan since he was 14.
Wow, that's a heavy word.
It is. He had an aunt, his only living relative when he came out. He told her, and she disowned him.
Just cut him off.
Yeah. But he says something really telling. He says, I didn't honestly care at that point in time. He'd already learned a fundamental lesson. Family is not just blood. It is made.
Family is made. I love that.
He realized that holding on to a biological connection that rejects you is just. It's damaging. But building connections with people who accept you, that's healing.
It circles all the way back to the stoners and goths in high school, doesn't it?
It's the consistent theme of his entire life. Finding the tribes that let him be him and learning to let go of the ones that don't, even the biological ones.
So let's just recap this whole journey. We start with an ultrasound error, a cosmic joke. We go through the shirt incident, the Mean Girls phase, the Axe Phoenix awakening.
We navigate COVID delays, getting fired, being disowned.
And we land here in 2026. He's in Maryland with his partner of 21 years, waiting on surgery, but he's stable. He's letting coworkers say what they want so he can have peace at home.
It's not a fairy tale. It's a real life. It's messy and it's hard, but he's still standing. And that's resilience. It isn't bouncing back to where you were. It's adapting to the new shape of your life. And he is constantly adapting.
It really makes you think about the durability of the human spirit.
It does.
Yeah.
And if I could leave you with one final thought to mull over.
Please.
We talk a lot about tolerance and acceptance, but look at his workplace strategy. He tolerates being misgendered to survive. So the question is, at what point does our society's failure to truly accept people force them into a kind of silence that we just mistake for peace? And if made family is stronger than blood, do we actually owe anything to our biological origins? Or is biology just the random starting point, like that ultrasound that we are totally free to walk away from?
That is heavy. But it's the right question. If the ultrasound can be wrong, maybe the whole biological obligation can be too.
Something to consider.
Definitely. Thank you all for listening to this deep dive. It's the story of one person, nameless to us, but facing battles that, in some way, define us all. We'll see you on the next one.
Take care.